right, today we're talking motorcycle luggage with a quick look at the Ventura Evo bike pack system. This is a complete 360-degree system comprised of bespoke mounting kits and luggage for a whole range of different motorcycles out there. In this video, we'll look at how the kits work regardless of your machine, and I'll give you my thoughts on using it on my Tuono for the past few weeks. So let's do it. So companies like Ventura really exist to fill the gaps in between the OEM offerings. So when you buy a new bike, the manufacturer will try to sell you a luggage solution that is specifically made by the factory for your machine. Very often it's a good solution. On my Indian Scout, I've got the official leather panniers and they're really good. But in a lot of cases, OEM isn't always best, and there are better alternatives out there in the aftermarket. And that's where brands like Ventura really add a lot of value. So over on the Ventura website, you can get a really good overview of all the different bikes they support, hundreds of different popular models from your Harleys, Ducatis, Aprilias, KTMs, loads of different solutions out there. But regardless of your bike, the principle of how this kit works remains pretty much the same. Just three core components to talk about. You've got the L brackets, you've then got the actual rack itself, and there's a couple of different styles of rack, and then you've got different luggage solutions that work with those racks. So in this video, I'll show you how those components come together to form what I think is a really good 360 system, and definitely a really great way to get your gear around on your motorbike. So the heart of the Ventura system, regardless of your bike, is going to be the L brackets. These are the black steel powder-coated tubes that form the centerpiece of the system. And actually, these are the only parts in the kit which is custom made for different bikes. So for example, on my Tuono, these two L brackets mount here where the passenger peg and exhaust hanger goes. And it also has a little crossbar which goes up under the tail, so that's bolted in under the tail, and then the top part of the L bracket then connects to that crossbar. So you've got a really good solid mounting system to the bike. You've got connection up under the passenger pegs, you've then got it bolted to the subframe further back via that little crossbar, and once it's all in place, it is rock solid and feels really integrated with the bike. Now, once you've got the brackets in place, the second key component is the actual luggage rack itself, which is a separate part. Now, there's a couple of different styles you can choose from. I've got the Evo system, and as you can see here, all you do is you drop it down onto the top of the L brackets, and it's then secured in place via these two thumb screws. Now, the correct way of mounting this to your bike is to have the rack pointing out from the tail like this, so pointing away from the bike, but it is also physically possible to have it put round the other way so that it's coming over the top of the tail. Now, Ventura don't recommend that you do it this way, but I must be a bit of a rebel because personally I quite like it like this. And regardless of how you put your rack on the L brackets, of course, the third part of the system is going to be the actual luggage itself. And in my case, with the Evo rack, it's compatible with all the different bags in the Evo range. As you can see, there is a special sleeve under these bags, which is designed to slide onto the rack. It's then secured in place with these two buckles on the back of the bag. And of course, once connected, it ain't going anywhere. You don't have to muck around with straps and bungees and all that stuff. You just literally clip it in place and you're done. Each of these bags is constructed from a Codra fabric, which is essentially a heavy-duty ballistic nylon. They're also lined with a PVC-backed material as well, which means they are water-resistant. They're not fully waterproof, probably because of the zips, but they will fend off light rain and showers and things like that. And I can attest to that. I've ridden in a bit of a light spring, summertime shower, and these do hold out pretty well. There are storm covers if you want to go fully waterproof. The bags are available in multiple different sizes too. So in the Evo range, for example, this one is the smallest. It's the Evo 12 Jetstream. And this size is just perfect for day trips. So if you want to be taking tools out, a second pair of gloves, maybe a hoodie or something like that, you can get your daily gear into this bag really easily. And for me, this one stays pretty much permanently on the bike. If you're doing a longer trip, maybe a long weekend, you've got the Evo 40. This one, it's just got so much space inside it. I could probably do a week's long trip in this one, to be completely honest. It's pretty much everything I need. But if you're going away for longer tours and longer trips, they also have a 60-litre version of the bag as well. So there's pretty much a bag for anybody, from day trips to full-on touring. Now, when it comes to the installation, it was about as easy as you would imagine. It probably took about 15 minutes to get it on my Aprilia. The first thing I did was to secure the crossbar onto the backside of the bike using 2 bolts. Then the L brackets connect to the frame where the passenger pegs go and the exhaust hanger goes. So that's just a bolt that goes up there into the frame. And then you've got 2 more bolts that connect the top part of the L brackets onto that crossbar under the tail. So it makes for a really secure mounting to the bike. Once that's done, you just drop your frame over the L brackets. There's 2 open holes in the top of those L brackets, so that just drops in. And as I said, you use those thumb screws to go ahead and connect it all in place. So very easy to get it on the bike, and thankfully also very easy to get it off the bike if you are going out and you don't need any luggage with you. I tend to leave the crossbar in place, which means it's just a couple of bolts to drop the L brackets, leave them in your garage, and then you're good to ride out with your bike, looking as sleek as it normally does. When it comes to fitting, my only word of caution, regardless of your bike, would be if you've got an aftermarket tail tidy in place. So one of the first things I did on my Aprilia was to take off the factory tail, and I fitted the EvoTech tail tidy, and that moves where the indicators sit. And in my case, unfortunately, those indicators sit exactly where the L brackets needed to be in order to get the rack on the back of the bike. So I had to change my tail tidy. I actually chose one from JTech, which has the indicators slightly lower, just enough space to clear the L brackets. So if you're using a completely stock bike, you won't have any problems. But if you have chopped the tail, put a tail tidy on, definitely worth bearing that in mind before you go ahead with this system, because you might have a little bit of an issue. But it was pretty easy for me to solve. So what is it that I really like about this system? Well, firstly, I love the way it mounts to the bike. It is properly solid. It's bolted to the subframe at 4 separate points, meaning it feels like it's really part of the machine. Apparently, one journalist recently took it out on a track and tested it at around 180 miles an hour and said he didn't even realize it was on the bike. And from my, albeit much slower and more sensible road tests, I completely agree with that statement. You just don't know it's on the bike. It really does feel integrated. You can ride as hard as you like with the Evo system on the back, and you will not know it's there. It is properly solid, really nicely mounted to the machine. Now, the weight capacity of the rack, they say, is around 9 kilograms. Now, that will probably vary depending on the model, but that's the official figure that they publish on the website. The other big advantage of the Ventura Evo system is that it keeps your luggage well away from the paintwork on your bike. So you'll know that if you've been using some of the more kind of strap-based systems, there's always the chance that those straps are going to move around and rub the paint off your bike and things like that. This leaves everything floating off the back of the bike, or in my case, I've been a bit naughty and pointed the other way, but it's still well clear of the tail and keeps everything nicely away from the bike itself. And finally, a massive box tick for the Ventura system comes in the form of the price point, especially when you compare it to some of the astronomical costs from the branded OEM systems that your manufacturer is likely to try and sell you when you get a bike. So it's definitely worth having a quick look over on the Ventura site to see what they offer for your bike, because I reckon by the time you've spec'd out the kit and a few different luggage options depending on the different trips you might do, you'll possibly still end up spending considerably less money. So definitely worth checking it out. Okay, that's it for now. I hope this has been a helpful overview of the Ventura system. I will leave links down in the description below. If this video has been useful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And until the next one, ride safe.